Violet coming out on the Zen right away tells you they didn't really think that there would be any kind of threat of the Prophet Pharah. Fitz is most likely to teleport forward, or do they want to TP to the point? We do see some sim on this map. Is this something that they want to stay on longer? Well, if you had a planned strategy at the beginning, it may just be completely ruined now. That is Violet with a pick on the Prophet. Early, you burned a res. Now they know you're already playing the Symmetra. They're going to have to take a different route. They may have wanted to play on the point, but obviously not anymore.
So Fitz heads back to spawn. The rest of his team does get teleported. This is reminiscent of what San Francisco tried on Kings Road. It gets the Dynasty in a more commanding position and allows them to cross the gap without taking all this poke damage from Arns and especially Striker.
I was going to say, a big difference here is Striker's playing Ashe here instead of Hanzo. So two really long-range hit scan. They can just kind of take different angles, crossfire each other. Be very difficult even for the Widowmaker, because the sightlines here on Hanamura for Fitz, it kind of plays into the Ashe's effective range.
Striker there, getting pressured and is forced out of line of sight, but Gesture doesn't go anywhere from that corner. He has to wait for a chance to get out, and he is denied it. Violet claims him again and continuing to be that DPS, the only player with final blows on the San Francisco Shock right now, until Super.
And he was putting pressure on the choke the entire time. Like the desk has talked about, I think one of, if not the biggest difference in the series so far has been Super. Whether it's shutting down Gesture or just causing a lot of havoc. He's almost playing how Gesture was playing, right? We're going on these like flanks, but also being a little bit more careful as there's still players here for Seoul Dynasty. Marvel will be on the point.
Fitz has a very obscure angle here, but with Super going down, the Dynasty might have a chance, yes, to push all their players here onto the point. Gesture's in a really commanding flank position, but can't interact presently with Violet, who's in Transcendence. Still, the hook on the bot will do the job, but even the healing from Violet is not going to be enough to keep the Mercy alive. Chokobin goes over the edge, and it looks like San Francisco will abandon this defense attempt. The Dynasty finagle their way into position, Matt. The route maneuvering finally bears fruit.
Yeah, and that time you see Gesture actually get to one of those advantageous positions, one of those flanks.
Wait a minute.
Make a big difference as Striker will switch. You still have Ons here.
That's a big stagger.
Drop. Yeah, he'll get that fast spawn, though, so he'll be right back up into the action. So you don't miss a beat here if you're the Shock.
Super in position just to stop any flank attempts here. This allows Striker to potentially make a foray of his own, especially in the absence of Prophet now. And Striker, unseen, can he interrupt this resurrect? No, his vision's obscured by the cherry blossoms. Otherwise, a fantastic ornamental piece for this map. In that case, a nuisance.
Soul just waiting a bit. And everybody in position, but also giving time for San Francisco to take some of these wider angles. As Fitz will use Infrasight, same with Aunts.
What do the Dynasty do with this information? Arns has found a big headshot on Super. Prophet tried to capitalize, playing from the other side. Two sides of the same pincer for the Dynasty, but neither have drawn blood. That's aggressive from Prophet. He dives forward. Is he in a position to pressure Striker back? That Sonic Arrow is going to give him the information, but in no position to go for it. Gesture, though, he's right in spawn.
And they've used Valkyrie and Nano here, as this will be Transcendence out of the spawn here for Violet. So it's almost 2 ticks for Seoul Dynasty. It'll be Gravitic Flux up in the sky, taking out Gesture. Marvel will fall, but you do have some progress made for the Seoul Dynasty. A lot to use just to get in. And on a map like this, Mitch, right, it makes it even harder, I think, for Gesture. There's not a lot of angles where you can flank or kind of get these odd positions on, especially kind of attacking. He also has to walk into the Zenyatta, which the Discord Orb is going to come down at range. You have these snipers. It's so difficult, one, to just keep him alive, and also for him to make a huge impact.
Is there any world where, I mean, Gesture can safely walk through main against this Zenyatta? Do they have to go to the high ground of the Dynasty?
I mean, he has to. If you go main, you're almost certain to get Discord and then just kind of shot from the high ground at multiple angles. He's going to try it here, and look at this. Already just takes a shot, has to drop down.
Or maybe he wanted to. This actually allows him to access the left-hand side of this last temple area without jumping over an uncrossable gap. Gesture gets Super. The little flank around maneuver finally pays off, and Violet has also gone down. San Francisco will have players coming back into formation now, and Moth hasn't used that Resurrect yet. He may have to now, though. Strike has been removed. That's the Valkyrie from Moth being used. 2 ticks here for the Dynasty, Matt.
Yes, Moth has to just fly onto the point, try and get a contest. It'll be Violet, takes out Gesture on the point. You have Super just sleeping here. But look at this, Violet just taking out the tanks in the backline. First takes out Gesture, then takes out Marvel. This Violet has had an unbelievable impact on the Zenyatta.
He currently sits at 6 final blows. And make it 7! This guy is absolutely out of his mind! Above and beyond the Call of Duty goes Violet. He tweeted earlier today on social media, it's edited a picture of himself with like those red Terminator eyes that said, I have to win, I have to win, I have to win. That is hunger. But that was just talk. In-game, that hunger is now personified.
Now we're down to a minute on the clock for Seoul Dynasty. They'll have both of these support ults. That's how they were able to get in the last time. Valkyrie plus a nano boost on a Gesture. You needed that extra durability on a Gesture to get towards the point. The bad part for Seoul Dynasty, as you'll have a Transcendence, you'll have that Gravitic Flux plus Dragon Strike combo. You have to be careful, all clumping up here on the high ground.
45 seconds remain. The Dynasty's reasonable time bank has dwindled to less than 1 minute. The upside for them is that they have some big ultimates to leverage here.
Yeah, but they're going to get in a position where they have to fight on the point. And this Gravitic Flux plus Transcendence is going to be huge.
1 tick though, that's all Jetson needs. He tries the whole hog, but Super again ruins his day. He can't escape, despite the fact he was being healed by Toby. Arns is able to cut him down to size. Marvel sets up on the point now, but Fitz just disintegrates under the scrutiny of Violet. It's another Harmony Orb. And Striker can sit on the point now. Marvel's so low. Arns has a perfect angle for this, but there aren't any players for the Shock on the ground. And the Dynasty, fantastic comeback to work their way through. They were short-handed in that fight, Matt.
Yeah, but they're able to get rid of Choyoven earlier. They're not able to get a res, so he never gets a use of that Gravitic Flux I was talking about, and that's huge because you're not playing with a big support ult for Seoul Dynasty. You don't have a Zenyatta, so it would have been devastating for Seoul to deal with.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to make some noise. You can use the cheer function on overwatchleague.com/react to cheer live for your team. Brought to you by Coca-Cola. Just like we've had in years gone by, we want to fill this arena with your energy. We've already really enjoyed seeing you guys in the T-Mobile Skybox. It's such a pleasure to get to share this moment with you, and my God, I'm hearing it already. Let's go, baby. The Dynasty just finished the map, but the Shock now kind of have a decent idea of how they match up or how they need to match up on the attacking side.
So now they expect the Pharah. This is almost, you think back to like how you kind of play Pharah on defense on a map almost like Eichenwald, right? You can kind of play around that center pillar, really to kind of deny any lines of sight. You can kind of play around a lot of these roofs here. So we take a look at the end of the round. Moth going for a res. Ooh, he gets taken out right at the last second.
Matt, Violet is absolutely out of control. And look at this. He's ready with the Batiste. He knows that Prophet's going to be trying for the Pharah. He is 8 final blows and 4 deaths. He leads the Shock by a decent margin. He's almost deadlifting his team.
I love this adjustment from San Francisco. You play Violet on the Batiste, but you also ditch the Roadhog here. And you play the Wrecking Ball in the Tracer.
The Super Bowl!
Instead of fighting at the choke, right? You just get on and just put pressure on the backline. Try and make this Pharah almost useless. And if Striker and Super can get into the back and get some pickoffs, it makes the Pharahs very difficult to make a huge impact.
This setup, though, for Seoul is incredibly impressive. You can see how safely Prophet can rain those rockets down, Matt.
Ons takes out the Mercy, though. So they don't have a Mercy coming into this next fight. San Francisco have a little bit of a window here. Now, Striker behind enemy lines. A pick on a Creative here would be enormous.
Hunting for Creative. He also sees the Pharah of Prophet close by. He tries for Creative, maybe attempting to bait out the Biotic Grenade, and he does. Creative has the self-heal.
He can go hunt Toby off spawn now.
Creative getting harassed still, and here comes Super. Rolls straight on through. Striker finds that kill, but it's traded. Super eventually he's going to have to get out here, but that's 1 tick already on the point. And look at this displacement. Soul is being forced away from the point, but they bring Creative back, and they're ready. They've regrouped, and they want to fight.
Yes, that'll be a bomb onto the point here from Fitz. It'll be an Amp Matrix drop from Violet. Oh, beautiful hook there from Gesture. That could be huge.
And it is Super taken out of the fight now. The Dynasty had to use a bit in that fight, but Fitz goes down to Striker. A huge pick for the Tracer, who's been lurking for most of the fight, and Arts is brought back into the fray. Marvel trying to desperately protect Toby, the lifeblood of this Dynasty roster. And Arts has gone down. Gesture has to return to the point here, but Super rolls on in, gets a pile driver, accretion from Marvel to try and slow the ball down. Here's the whole hog from Gesture. Biotic grenade on Super makes this one really hurt. He'll have to take a breather before he returns to the fight. But San Francisco, they're not done here. They're going to keep trying to apply some pressure.
Yeah, Super will go off, he'll get a health pack, and he'll come back and he'll have a minefield to drop in the point. Minefield plus like a self-destruct, good enough to clear this out.
Dynasty, all things considered, in a decent spot right now. Great accretion across the map by Marvel. And Arns has to be resurrected here. Super once again, a foray towards the point. The Wrecking Ball in the past, a butt of jokes on his stream now. It may be the secret weapon to get the shock across the line. And Choikoven, that's an environmental kill on Fitz. He's knocked off of the cliff, and he'll have plenty of time to think about what has happened as the shock converge on point A, man. They'll capture it, and they'll have a fairly healthy time bank with 4 minutes, 16 seconds.
And they have the answer for this. As soon as they saw the Hanamura pick, it gives a huge kind of a sign going into halftime that something different is going to happen with Seoul Dynasty. And what is it? It's the Pharah on defense. And San Francisco, they solve it. They bring in the Wrecking Ball. They bring in the Diva, the Tracer. They really just go after Seoul's back line aggressively.
Profit being extremely heavily pressured here, but the rest of the Dynasty are able to deal with Arns, possibly the biggest threat from that high ground.
Now I think you switch, potentially, if you're San Francisco. And you already see Violet make the switch. I think Super and Choikoven probably switch. Maybe you bring in the Roadhog. Maybe you keep the self-destruct for the next, just trying to make a play. And ooh, it looks like Violet goes back. So maybe they want to keep this going with this type of setup. I do think, with the way they were going, Gesture was starting to heat up a little bit. Make some plays. You saw him get a hook on a Violet, a hook on an Aunt. They have to be careful. They can't let Gesture come alive.
Profit playing quite far forward there. He's met with the defense matrix of Choikoven on that Diva, a hero on which he has previously soared to great heights in and out of game. Answer with the accretion. Oh, the 1-2 punch is nasty, but Profit is traded out elsewhere. Here's a Gravitic Flux that Choikoven can't do much about. He'll have to self-destruct to replace. Oh no! Fitz goes down! Choikoven just wanted a shiny new mech, and instead he gets the scalp of Fitz. Jess is going to be forced off a point now. The Micro Rockets get the job done, and Striker has a big old bomb for Marvel. Gesture tries to go for the whole hog. Much of it is nullified by the defense matrix, but he receives a friendly biotic grenade, and he gets a big old hook on a Striker. He'll be knocked off the point now, and the Shocker fairly close to that second tick, but Profit has returned to the fray. Bob attempts, well, to try and capture the point, but one defends it as well. San Francisco again, it's back to the drawing board, Matt.
Yeah, it's Bobs from both teams there. Towards the end of the fight is this will be a stagger here on Choi.
This is a big stagger.
Yep, he gets back in the mech. Now ooh, the sleep dart comes through. It's going to be a while until he gets back.
Life comes at you fast, Choikoven.
Yep. They barely put any damage down to do it originally when the hook comes down, and then eventually finish him off.
And that also gives Seoul essentially another fight win there. Arns finds a kill on Profit, but it's not going to be consequential because of the Resurrect. Bit of extra ult charge for Seoul as they head into a fight in which they don't really have much to work with. But let's see how this went down. Violet tries to flank.
Let's see. Ooh, he loaded up a Batiste jump with the Exo jump. It looked like it did not go off when he fell off the side, or he made it just hit the roof a little bit, clipped it. So unfortunate. We'll see though, Ant Matrix plus the Ashe set up on the high ground here. We'll see if they're able to push Seoul Dynasty out of this position. This is also one where Gesture's been able to get these big hooks.
Okay, there it is. The Immortality Field thrown down by Violet. It's able at least to allow them to get a trade. Toby's the only support for the Dynasty alive right now, but he gives Gesture a nano boost. So the Shock very wary of this. Striker's looking for Fitz on the point, just a little bit more damage, and yes, Toby was too far afield, helping his tanks. Profit though's going to be healed up, and Striker eventually just has to stand out in the open. He had no blinks available. Choikoven in similar trouble as the kinetic grasp won't keep him alive for very long. And San Francisco go under a minute, but they got that second tick there, Matt.
Yeah, and I think they should have switched off of this a while ago. I think they should have gone, like as soon as you saw Profit go to Hanzo, I think they probably should have changed to what they've had working almost the entire game. maybe you don't bring in the Widow, maybe you keep the Ashe for just how the point is structured. But now they'll bring in the Zen, they'll bring in the Roadhog here for the final push.
Prophet thinking about that Dragon Strike. He's got information now. He sees the Shock head to the high ground for the last push of this map. Soul trying to get one on the board here. Gravitic Flux is going to make it pretty nasty for Violet, who's dropped down, and Prophet meets him with the Dragon Strike. There's nothing San Francisco can do. Prophet will sit pretty up on that high ground now, and Fitz easily dispatches Striker. Or under 5 seconds left, and the Shock don't have the players to touch the point here. Whole hog to secure it, and the Seoul Dynasty fight back. The venerable Tigers finally bare their fangs.
And you know what's kind of, it's so odd. The Hanamura pick we all questioned, and we were like, oh, maybe it's something that the Seoul Dynasty had planned, that the Shock maybe won't expect. They kind of beat them doing what they did in map number 1 and 2. It's just the Shock just refused to match it on point B. They committed to the Tracer, they committed to the Wrecking Ball in the Diva with the Batiste for just way too long.